there, kings and queens and everybody between. It's your boy MFC coming back at you with yet another video. And the reason why I'm so peppy today is because we're doing everybody's favorite game show. Which tier is my character? That's right, folks. It's tier list time. Everyone's favorite ripping good time of entertainment here on the platform known as YouTube. And Gundam Evolution is what's in our crosshairs and our sights today. So, as you guys may know, we're going to go ahead and pop over a handy dandy tier list right now. All right. Things are looking kind of crispy, and I don't have the heroes and units in a specific order, so we're just going to go down the way I have them in their layers. So, we're going to start off with Gun Tank. Gun Tank, actually a solid B. I think this is actually a solid pick. Why? First of all, you don't even have to be good at aiming. Honestly, this is a great solo queue hero because you could just pull up, hold down a spot, be a huge realm and barrier of fire, take off some good angles, do a pretty fair substantial bit of damage, and make it to where certain enemies can't peel, can't rotate to their team. And honestly, with your movement ability, you're able to get in and out of dodge relatively quickly and play relatively safe. So trust me, especially on domination maps where there's going to be a lot of CQC, a lot of that close quarters combat. Trust me, this is a character that could definitely take some prime real estate and annoy and harass consistently. So let's be honest, when you have to deal with high pressure situations and a gun tank is just sitting there holding an off angle, life sucks for you. But coming up next, we got Unicorn Gundam. And look, I don't want to put this character in the sauce god realm, but it's close because let's be honest, in solo queue, the average person, they don't understand target priority. Most people out there just running around doing anything they want. They're running around like chickens with their heads cut off. There's no organization. I have yet to even hear somebody in the team chat since I played since launch. I have yet to hear another voice besides mine talking to my team, trying to coordinate anything. And let's be honest, if you're playing just casual queue, no one's obligated to listen. People are just experimenting. People are just running around. They don't care. So it's not necessarily the easiest way to get people grouped up for the big massive heal so you can push as a coordinated unit. So as far as solo queue goes, it's not a bad pick. It's not a great pick. When it works, it really works and can bust open the game quite substantially. But if people aren't taking the benefits of the heals or even pushing when everyone's got the big heals and you're all ready to go, really kind of a wishy-washy kind of pick. But honestly, playing for yourself, playing your life, you're actually able to do a lot of things and be consistent, a present on the battlefield, and not always have to worry about where's our Unicorn Gundam, because unlike Methus, you don't have to be right next to them. Now, I am going to skip ahead because I am going to click on Methus because I want to talk about these characters right back. In solo queue, I think Methus is just better. Almost a sauce god. Like if I could put a tier here, I would, but you guys got to understand. Once you guys understand how this character works, and understand that your turret should have almost 24/7 365 uptime. Like as soon as it gets destroyed, 9 times out of 10 you have it off cooldown again. And if you're already in a good primary position, whether you're on the high ground, you're sitting behind your team or your Sazabi or some big frontlining unit with a shield is ahead of you, you can obviously throw it down. You can also watch out for flankers like Barbados and Exia coming around the back. If you know which routes they typically are going to flank, you throw down a turret. Your turret activates, you start seeing hit markers, and you know you're not shooting anything. You now have intel, and you know exactly where the Barbados or incoming flanker or someone sneaking like a Zaku Ranged coming around the corner. You know where they are. You have a great range of, all right, I have the knowledge, I hear them, I know where they are. You can move and position yourself accordingly so you don't die. Being able to repair from a distance consistently without wasting a cooldown to do it, that is huge in of itself. I don't see it being used enough, but there have been so many games where they have a sniper, enemies looking down sights, knocks off one of my teammates. For whatever reason, in solo queue, people don't like finishing down enemies, so the sniper tries to get another headshot. I don't have to peek the sniper. I just tether my little cord, punish the mistake of not destroying the unit. Next thing you know, my sniper or my Gundam or my GM get up. Now they're able to maneuver around instead of having them take that long walk back from a spawn, which can be really long and keep you out of the fight and give your team incredible amounts of downtime and a disadvantage. Now you're back up. And a lot of times with people down, folks, they don't expect the res to go off. Now you get to set up a nice flank because you're technically invisible. They're not looking at you. You're no longer the focus of the fire. You get back up, you can make huge contributions to the fight. And I think Mephis, even in solo queue, even without coordinating, can do that a lot and do it consistently. And the turret does a pretty decent amount of damage, especially if you're put it on a piece of map geometry where the average player is not looking for it. So they're just getting shot and they're like, what? Where? I don't understand. Help. Jesus, where are you? I need to find a religion because I'm dying. And then next thing you know, you come in there, pop, use your alternative fire. And next thing you know, you have a dead Barbados on the field. Anywho, going back to the tippity top, we need to talk about him because we got to talk about the general manager of our store, GM. If you can hit your shots and you can get down nice grenade damage, and you can make sure that you're putting your trip mines down and being able to cycle your cooldowns, this character is a monster. Because for what a lot of people don't know, and this is just like one of the abusable things in Apex Legends that a lot of people don't really understand, is there were some units or heroes in Apex that could put down something that they could use later, but their cooldown for it didn't start when the skill was over. It started as soon as you placed it. What does that mean? You can finish a fight, get a team kill, whatever it is, put down a mine where you know the enemy team is going to come. By the time they get there, you can then detonate the mine. And because GM's mine cooldown starts when he throws the mine, not when he detonates it, you will have a second mine as you detonate the first one. So right when the enemy team thinks it's safe, you can just chuck and immediately detonate the second one. And now you've created a whole area of denial. They can't take the space. If they do take a space, you make huge accumulations towards your ult charge, which by the way is another area denial ult. So there's a lot of things that this character could do to farm its ult, get its ult faster. Oh, by the way, if y'all didn't know, Mephis is nano. The reason why I didn't talk about it is because we're talking about solo queue. As of right now, that the previous character, Mephis, the support hero, this character right here, the reason why I didn't talk about this character's ult is because 9 times out of 10 when I ult people, they don't do anything with it because they don't know what the ult does. They just see their screen glowing blue, and for some reason they don't understand it because they don't play Mephis, so they don't know what it does. So they're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm just glowing blue now. And then they just either run away from the fight while glowing blue, or they just run in and overextend and just end up getting farmed. But once again, I wanted to make sure that I told people that I didn't forget the ult. I just didn't want to go over it because it's solo queue. It's kind of a nightmare. You don't really get the maximum amount of utility out of it. But anyways, back to GM. I think once again, if you're hitting your shots, you're able to use your shield, get the stuns, you're able to do a lot for your team. And honestly, I'm not quite too sure when the enemy team has to come towards you if this character is that great. But in every other game type where you're on offense or you're planting the bombs or you're in domination, this character has a lot of invaluable resources. Like you can't put a value on it. Now we talk about Ashamar. Now I know when the game first came out, everyone was telling me this character was garbage. I don't know what y'all are talking about because now that this character's a monster. Like this character is a whole problem. Much like GM has an incendiary grenade, and let's be honest, it's a lot easier to use and utilize this one because it goes farther. Now I don't think it does as much damage, but when you farm your ult and you're just able to flank, go back, cap, your character is so versatile with its transformation movement. It has pretty decent damage at almost every range. The only range that you're probably not going to be in is like having a sniper duel, but in the mid and the short range, you can shred. You can absolutely take out multiple units at the same time because your little burst can hit multiple enemies at the same time. And my personal favorite thing to do is if everyone's stuck on a choke point and everyone doesn't know how to seem to navigate it, and you're having a nice 6v6, there's nothing wrong with you notice that everyone's tunnel visioned on your team at the choke. You just transform, you roll out. Now you've given the enemy team something to look at, and now their attention is diverted. You can set up a crossfire, you can set up a lot of nasty angles. And the fact that when you're in flight mode, you still have access to all of your skills. That's right, you are in flight mode. You want to use your secondary fire skill? You could do it. Primary fire skill? You could do it. You don't have to learn a second set of controls. And if you want to get real dangerous, the end of your flight, you can throw the incendiary grenade and it'll automatically have you transform, and you can hold space. Yes, you can hold the jump button, and you'll slowly descend down as you're able to aim. And trust me, most people really not good at aiming upwards. So you can get some nice cheeky shots by having the high ground. And if you can get behind the enemy team, they have to turn around and divert resources towards you to deal with you. And oftentimes, if you know the map geometry, you can kind of finagle with that. And when you're in the back, you can obviously play cover. Now they have to send resources to have someone come get you out of their back line. And now your team should be able to move past chokes, even if it's heavily fortified. I think Ashamar is pretty good. Now there's this character. I'm not going to lie to you, My Hero fans, and I ain't talking about My Hero Academia. I don't know what this character is really supposed to do. Like, I understand the gimmick, all right? It's like Junkrat from Overwatch, but only having 3 bursts, I feel like this character is just very situational. I'll put it in C because it's just a very situational pick. I say situational because if there's a choke, like the boat map, I forget what it's called. It's like the cruise vessel. You guys know the one. It's a 2 CP, 2 capture point map. There's a city, and then it's like you're on a large boat cruiser, and then this point B has a hole in it. Y'all know that map? There's only 2 places the enemy team could come from, and you know they can only come from those angles. This character could be a monster. Like, honestly, on that map, it's probably up here at A. You just see it off the choke points, pop, 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 pop. If you get direct hits, it does big damage, and it controls a lot of real estate. The problem is that there are a lot of maps that do play to the Mahiro's strengths in terms of using the map geometry and being able to bounce things. But there are other maps where I just feel like playing anybody else in the game would net you a better reward. I'm not saying that this hero is bad, but I just feel like it's too situational to be considered godlike and good. It's very inconsistent, and consistency is a big thing that you're going to need, especially in solo queue, because if you're not consistent, then you know your team's definitely not going to be. And I just think that's a huge drawback for the character. However, I feel like if I'm just doing a temperature check here, they're going to give this character a buff. And the buff is instead of 3 shots, it's going to have 5 shots, and they're going to give it a damage buff. And once they do that, all bets are off. This character is going to be crickety cracked. Let me tell you, cracked. It's going to be a huge demon to deal with. Now we're going to talk about Zaku Melee, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really think this character is like crazy A tier or a sauce god. Not because I think the character is bad, but because I just feel like, kind of similar to another character that we're going to talk about next, it's just farm your ult. Once you get your ult, now you're a menace to society. But I feel like a lot of people are not using the cooldowns optimally, because if you're just using the I can now stand here and proudly take some damage and all you're doing it for is to farm rage, terrible idea. I'm not saying you can't use it like that. It is a good utilization tool to get it, but really you just want to be using your slash wave skill. That's going to be your rage spamming skill. That's what you want to do. That's number 1. Number 2, you can use it to block off certain choke points. If you have a healer or somebody who's down, who's a vital target, and you know they're about to get shot at when they get downed, you can stand in front, put up the armor, have one of your teammates now safely be able to pick up that unit. And then once your armor's gone, you've built rage, you protected a teammate. If you know that someone's about to hit a huge ult, you can use it to flash parry ult. So like you can bait a gun tank ult that's about to detonate. You see it coming near you, you pop it, you live. You see Unicorn Gundam about to start spamming the choke point, body block. There are so many things that you can do and block that this character will never be bad. Now we talk about Marasai. Look, Marasai, this is another solid B pick. You may be saying, why is Marasai in B? I don't understand. Isn't it crazy? I feel like there's a lot of things that you could do to counter this hero. I feel like its downtime is a little bit too long in terms of, you know, let's be honest, you get the hook, you get the kill, you get the stun, you can secure kills, especially on high priority targets. The problem is, I feel like when you don't have hookup, this character's not scary in any way. Like, if you miss your hook, you're basically useless. It's not like Roadhog, where in Overwatch, hate to use Overwatch as an equivalent, by the way, but with Roadhog, if you don't have hook, you're still a big time threat who can heal himself and burst down enemies with your left and right clicks. With this character, you are by far the worst mid-range character in the game. Like you're not that guy, pal. You're not. That's number one. And number two, when you don't have hook, you're a big hitbox character with no shield, no way to sustain yourself, and you don't have 3 dashes. You don't have a protection move like the Zaku's. You don't have a way to change your hitbox and get vertical and achieve high ground. You do not have any of the things that would make you more agile. So you have the worst of both worlds of being big, fragile, catching strays, and of course, without hook, you don't really do too much. But the reason why it's in B is because when you look at an Barbados, you look at an Exia, you look at a Zaku trying to sneak into your backline, if you can hit your hooks, they don't get to play the game. If you can look at your healers and you know that your team is getting slammed, you just wait for Barbados, supply the hook, the stun, the kill. They usually end up having to switch off that character. So it's a very situational counter pick. And because it counters the heroes that can one-shot, two-shot, and absolutely ruin your team's ability to even play the game, because it can counter those heroes, this hero will never be trash. Never. And I feel like, unfortunately, that's going to be what stops it from getting buffed, because it's going to be like the counterpiece to other character archetypes that'll be coming through the game. But speaking of the Zakus, we got Zaku Ranged. I think Zaku Ranged is situational. At worst, it's B. But I want to say it's an A, because once you get close, you catch an off angle, you catch somebody on the flank, you catch somebody out. You have 3 dashes, so you have some of the best maneuverability in the game. You can get on them, you can burst them down, especially if you're aiming well. You can one-clip a lot of people. It's very similar to Tracer and Overwatch. You get in there, and if things go tits up, if things don't go well, you have one of the best escape maneuvers in the game. You can put up with your smoke screen, you can body block, much like with Zaku M, you can get out of dodge, and here's my personal favorite. You still get to use your dashes while you're smoked up. So, more often than not, if you can pop smoke and you know the map geometry, you can navigate backwards, you can turn around if you want, but 9 times out of 10, the enemy team will not be able to chase you because you have more maneuverability, more dash G stamina than them. And I'll be honest, I don't think the G maneuver is that great, but with the ability to outrun the competition, pop smoke and be invincible, sneak around corners in the back line, you team gets a kill while you're in the back line, you can spawn camp. This character can be a menace, and if it gets started, it can snowball quite effectively. Now, it's time to talk about one of my favorite units in the game. Shout outs to Sazabi, man. So Sazabi and solo queue, if you do not have an Exia or a team composition that has a lot of heals, Sazabi might even be here. Because if you have a team that doesn't coordinate with you, doesn't push when you get a pick or you get a nice axe, you get a kill on a nice frontline unit and you guys begin to move in, you're nothing more than a giant 2800 hitbox. The reason why I say 2800 is because your shield's got 1400, you got 1400, but the way characters work in this game, they do like 600 damage per second. So you really only have 5 to 6 seconds to play with. You're huge, your head is huge. If you got a sniper, a Zaku, and just any other unit, like let's just say gun tank shooting at you, you're not living very long, regardless of what your health pool has to say about it. And since you're the only tank, once again, a lot of people are going to farm their ult. You're going to give a lot of ult charge to the enemy team. And it feels terrible because there's so many units in the game that have skills that pierce shields, knock away shields, and stun you. And that leaves you susceptible to huge damage. And the fact that you have a shotgun and your range is poor and you don't have any long range damage, it sucks. In a lot of cases, when you're solo, you feel like you're an F tier unit. However, if you have a Methus or Unicorn Gundam or just a character that can take the pressure off everyone looking at you all the time, then this character's like in S. Like it can be a Sauce Guy. It can fall anywhere on the range in solo queue, which makes it really hard to place. But more often than not, I feel like you're going to get teammates who are not what we would call understanding the game. So I feel like putting it in C on average is a good spot to put it. But as of right now, when people learn the game, I feel like when it becomes less of a situational pick, it's definitely going to creep its way into B and A, because up close and personal, you don't want to deal with this character. But as it stands right now with his current health pool, it still gets one shot by Barbados. If you get jumped on by an Exia, if you do not hit 2 clutch shots, the matchup is still not in your favor. And it's really hard to hit those clutch shots, especially with the latency of the server and how fast Exia can move around, reset its dashes, get out of dodge, etc. So once again, being in a 1v1 as Sazabi is not where you want to be, but it's going to happen more often than you think, especially in solo queue. But once again, speaking of Exia, this character is a sauce god. I don't care what anyone says. If you can master this character's movement, like, you don't need the rest of your team. Like, I'm not saying this character can 1v11, but like if you're like a top upper echelon Exia player, it doesn't really matter what your team's doing, because you jump in and you get 1 pick. 1. Usually that's going to lead to 2. And if you can get 1 pick, you don't even have to kill the second person. You get the second person's attention. The enemy team is in a 4v5 against your team. You have the numbers advantage. And because of that, if your team can just get 1 kill or get someone low and you can scout that that person's low and you can dash them and get another kill, you usually have captured whatever objective it is you're looking for, and you still have 2 or 3 more dashes to play with. And if this character gets ult, good night, Irene. GG's. Don't even talk to me. Now, we have Sniper to talk about, and I'm not going to lie to you. That recon ult is an ult that I don't think people are utilizing enough, because it lasts so long and it goes farther than you might think. And getting the jump on any flankers, or getting the, just knowledge to your team in general, huge. It's monumental. There will be people who have the awareness of a goldfish and won't even think to look behind that rock. But because your scan went off, they now know someone's behind that rock, and now they can pay attention to the threat that is closest to them. And that in and of itself is huge. So that alone would put this character in A tier. However, there are a lot of maps in the game. As you guys have seen, even in close quarters combat, if you know certain angles and you know approximately what head height to be aiming at, and you can pre-aim certain doorways, if your sniper is lethal with the left clicks, they're saucing. If they're on any 2CP map that has long corridors or long open spaces and they're hitting their shots, enemy teams can't even peek certain frames. Like, they just can't peek certain areas. Like, we know tank players, they're usually like Sazabi, they're the ones that are supposed to take the space. There are entire sight lines that teams will not be able to take if their sniper is able to win the duels with the long range characters. You can't even look down certain angles because you can be one tapped. And even if you're a character that wouldn't die to a 1 tap from the sniper rifle, the rest of the team putting bullets into you at the same time you get even hit with a body shot, 9 times out of 10 you're dead in this situation. So this character is doing a lot for the team. And since this isn't a typical game like a Overwatch or something like that, where there's a whole lot of shields and a whole lot of barriers that can be put out and used to protect the team, snipers will typically have a field day, as you saw in my sniper video. A lot of teams do not have the answer. Now we're going to talk about, I think, the final sauce god, Barbados. Now, personally, I don't think Barbados is actually a true sauce god, but any character with a 1-shot who is balanced around their 1-shot is never going to suck. Why? Because in this game, getting to the point, getting to the objective, if Barbados can just get on one person, they will explode. And as I've said before, in solo queue, communication is not really something that people are even attempting at this point in the game, which means Barbados can get a kill. And a lot of people are not even using their pings. As it stands right now, you can kill somebody and people still don't even know you're there. And then when they hear you charging up, that thing is loud as heck. And when it's that loud, people gonna be like, oh my God, where is he? And it's tough to fight, hear that, continue that fight, and still have good recognition to be able to recognize where Barbados is coming from. Because there's times where I've seen people in a fight and they just get smacked. I don't even play Barbados. I played Barbados 1 game as a joke, on stream, I just picked the character. I never hit anyone. I just charged it up, and I would just watch the enemy team be like, oh, and then my team would win 5v6 engagements just because I literally exist, and the threat of me just existing is more of a threat than my rest of my team hitting shots. And to me, that is crazy. The fact that he's able to stun on both skills, one tap, and still have enough mobility to get out of dodge. Crazy. Now we get to talk about Gundam. Once again, if your team is playing against the team that has a lot of shields, this guy becomes A tier immediately. But having an ult that is shootable, it puts you at B at best. I'm sorry. If that ult couldn't be destroyed, he'd be A tier, no question, no doubt in my mind. But as of right now, I think they just sit in B. They're a nice, fair unit. They have a shield. They're able to protect themselves. So I genuinely just think that they're all right. I don't think that they're bad. I just think they're all right. Now, we get to talk about one of my favorite units in the game, Turn A. I don't know if the Turn A video is out already. It might just be being edited, but the Turn A Gundam, sheesh, it is a B tier hero at best in terms of what it's able to do and what it brings to the table in terms of its skills. But much like Marasai, if one of these Sauce God melee heroes tries to run up on your backside, don't act like you won't get this, because you will get hugged, judo flipped, headshot. It's one of the most beautiful sequences in the game. And if that alone wasn't enough to elevate it to A, this will. Have you seen this character's ult? Have you seen its ult? Have you seen it? Did you know that if it flies above a building with a roof, the dust comes through the roof, which means you can't even shoot him while you're inside, but he can hit you if he knows the map geometry. If the player playing that, if she's good enough to navigate, you're dead. It does mad damage. And that alone is gonna put you in A. Alone. Especially when you have teams that do group up and they're trying to play that, and you have an off angle or you're standing on top of a building that they're in, you just pop ult, just fly around. You will get quad kills, which allows your team to push into the objective and get a third, 2/3, or even the whole objective in of itself, especially if the other team is going to be staggering their way in. And this character has a good way to farm its ult with its charge shot. Close quarter engagement, it has an answer. It has armor to, once again, these two heroes. So yeah, Turn A Gundam is pretty doggone good. Now, remember when I said there was another Sauce God and that was the last one? I lied to you. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I lied. Pale Rider. It's not as good or as dangerous as good old-fashioned Sniper, but the fact that this character has crazy burst damage, the ability to be consistent, just like rate of fire on your enemy team, the fact that it is able to out-damage every other gun-based hero in the game, the fact that it's able to slow people down in close quarters combat with a slow grenade, the fact that it has another grenade that does a moderate, respectable piece of damage, and the fact that it is able to hold corners, drop a healing station, heal itself, and out-peak people standing and camping health packs in this game makes it diabolical. And the fact that its damage drop-off range actually isn't that far. Like, even from like a little bit past mid-range, beginning of long range, this character can still do damage to you. It's not necessarily gonna one-clip anybody, but it will do enough damage to where if even any of the other mid-range heroes like a GM, Gundam, Turn A can just hit one shot, just one bullet in their clip on you, if you're not at full health, if you're at 900 HP, 600 HP, doesn't matter which range you are, this character is coming for you. Very dangerous. And if it pops its ult, come on, brother, have you been hit by Pale Rider ulted? When it pops the Hades upgrade, come on, bro, might as well be hacking. Might as well be hacking. And then we have our last hero of the day, serving it up Gary's way. Sorry, they're kind of way over here. We got Dom Trooper. Now, you guys know any character that could sit here, spam a lot of damage, do big damage, and do area denial, especially in a very flanker heavy meta, never going to be bad. So honestly, being able to do all that, have an ult that's able to clear points, create a lot of real estate for the team, almost one-shot 800 damage heroes by just ramming them, and being very consistent in terms of damage. If you're playing on the high ground and you just shoot down at a team, all you gotta do is aim at their feet, make them tap dance like it's a Looney Tunes special. It's very easy to change the tide of battle when you can actually hit shots, utilize map geometry to its greatest effectiveness with the splash damage, knowing which corners people are going to peek, and just completely nailing off choke points to the point to where the opposition can't even come through and they have to take a long way around, which will give you precious seconds on objectives. And honestly, very simple game plan, easy to execute. I can't say that you can go wrong with this hero. Plus the fact that not only are you a nice rate of fire, not only are you consistent, not only can you clear objectives, points, corridors, choke points, etc. You know you get a heal that's pretty substantial. It's a burst heal, by the way. Goes around corners for the rest of your team. And it has a pretty low and generous cooldown. Come on. If you're not spamming that every chance you get, you're throwing. You are throwing. And when you add all this together, you're a demon. Especially if you have a situation where you got a Sazabi who's going in, extra 500 health. What's that? You got a melee Zaku who's trying to, run in there, pops their armor, rage mode, hits their ults, killing everything, and you see that they get low, pop, now they gotta reset. This character really, really enables a lot of the people on this tier list that are not Dom to just go absolutely ape and go ham and just pull it out in the clutch. Now, looking at this tier list, you may say, but you don't have anybody in D or F. As I said, this may be a hot take. Sazabi on some maps and some team compositions becomes an F immediately. You pick this character you're throwing. You're just a big hitbox. You might as well pick somebody else. You have a team that's willing to follow up on you, but you don't have a team composition to do it. They can fall anywhere from D to C. Not saying that the character will be bad, but the character, you'll be in games where, yeah, you won, but you would have won had you picked anyone else on this list as well. You get a team that's actually willing to back you up, heal you, coordinate, and actually follow your lead when you push in. Especially if you set a pick, get a nice axe, and you can reel somebody over there, go ahead and get a kill, and your healers are following you up. This character could be in the Sauce God tier. But if the enemy team also is running counters that break shields, pierce shields, to the point to where you can't even really shield anything, then you're like down here. So overall, I just feel safe putting this character right here. Now in 6v6 coordinated gameplay where everyone's, backing you, a minimum. That's a very different tier list. That is a very different game when we're talking about 6v6. A lot of these heroes come down, a lot of these heroes go up, but I digress. This is what I'm feeling as of right now for solo queue meta, my Gundam tier list. Y'all have a great day and an even better set of games, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.